Hi, welcome to today's session of how to get the most value from your existing software systems. I'm JP Lessard. Be sure to check out the other videos in this series with myself and my colleague John Horner. Today I'm going to talk about how to empower your people. And specifically, let's start with the environment that you set up for them. The environment is everything outside the software. Okay, so again, this is what can you do without changing your software to get the most value from it by setting your people up for success through everything outside the software itself. So this is all about human performance optimization. Check out the other video on system performance optimization. Today I'm going to talk about optimizing the performance of the people using that software. So if the environment is slowing them down more than the software, this is definitely where you should start. If the way that they're set up and the way that they're working with your systems is making them go slow or not be very productive, look at these things we're going to talk about today. You might be surprised. So the two things we'll focus on are the workspace itself and the tools that you provide. So let's jump right into the workspace. When you think workspace, the first thing that'll probably pop into your head is ergonomics. And it's just as critical today as when they first started researching this. So of course, desks and chairs and keyboards, oh my, all these things that go into good ergonomics and having people set up well to avoid short-term and long-term injuries or health problems. Very important to have that core physical setup for people and make sure they got the right support. Make sure that you've got safety in mind, the comfort of the people. If they're happy, they're going to be engaged and they're going to be more productive. Set them up for productivity, easy access to the computing devices that they need and the peripherals. So get them set up well physically. Then they're going to feel great and now they can jump in and do the work with the software. And then I would tell you to look at things beyond the stuff. So think about things like the layout in your office. And if you're not already paperless, I would highly encourage you to start looking in that direction because you'd be amazed how much time people spend shuffling papers around and walking to and from the printers. So depending how long the walk is from here to any shared devices in your office and how often people need to do that, that sucks a lot of time every day. So think about that aspect and maybe redesign things if you still do need to work on hard copies of things. All right, so with all that said, let's start getting into tools. The number one tool that people have at their disposal is the wetware, I'll call it, their brains, right? So how can I set people up to use their brains in the best way possible for what brains do best, which is that critical thinking and the decision making that we talked about. So number one, let them focus. Set them up to be focused on the work that they're doing. Minimize distractions. These days, it's very easy to have tons of electronic distractions all alone. See how many of those pop-ups and notifications this guy's getting? A ding every time you get an email or a chat message or who knows what. Minimize those. Shut them down. Encourage people to put their mobile phones away while they're working throughout the day. You know, they can check on them during their breaks. But while you're sitting here working, try to minimize those distractions. And then I'll say set up a clean workspace for people. There's the old saying of a clear desk equals a clear mind, and it's very true. So if your office is in disrepair or disorganized or there's chaos happening, that's the way people are going to work. Their minds are going to reflect what's going on in the office, and they're going to approach their work that way, and they're not going to be focused and as productive as they could be if things are nice and clear and clean, and I can sit down and focus just on my work. So set up that environment for success for them. So here's some things you may not have as much direct control over, yet I would encourage you to encourage healthy habits with your staff. These are things that will have a huge impact on their productivity if they will follow some of these suggestions. Number one, sustainable energy. Healthy eating habits, drinking plenty of water, all those things, you hear about it, they have a super big impact on productivity. So if you've got vending machines and those kind of things that have junk food in them, that's going to cause a sugar crash at some point, and their brain's not going to be as productive. Encourage people to snack healthy and eat healthy throughout the workday at least, so that their brains continue to work at a sustainable energy level. Number two, taking physical breaks. Encourage people to take a break physically if they're sitting at a desk at least every 45 to 60 minutes. You know, they've done studies that show that as you sit there longer and longer than 45 minutes or so, parts of your brain start going to sleep, even though you're still awake. So encourage them to take those breaks and don't let them become screen zombies, as I call them. Finally, hardware. I would encourage you to view hardware not as an expense, but as an investment. It's an investment in your people, and it's an investment in productivity. Think about, do they have modern computers? At least modern enough that the people aren't waiting on the computer to do the work. Computers these days are super fast, so there's no reason that people should be waiting on the computer to process something. Multiple monitors. 2 to 3 is ideal, in my opinion. If you start getting beyond that, depending on what you do, but beyond 2 to 3 for most people starts becoming a distraction and you may not know where to find things. So 2 to 3 allows you to place things in good areas and you have multiple monitors for your workspace visually. And then peripherals. So on peripherals, I'll tell you, there's a difference between being cheap and buying the cheapest thing you can possibly get, and that's what you're going to get. You get what you pay for. And saving money. I always encourage you to save money, but think about what the job the person needs to do is. Do they need an upgraded keyboard? If they're a programmer, definitely. Do they need an ergonomic mouse? If they're a graphics developer, definitely. So think about the job that they do and what equipment do they need. Get them good touchscreens, rugged touchscreens if you're in the warehouse. So look at those things, think about them, and save money, but don't get cheap on your hardware because you're going to pay for it tenfold in the long run. So now that you know, I would encourage you to go out there, be an environmental activist, at least in regards to your workspace, and set your people up for success. Until next time, thank you, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions.